It's happening every day around the water cooler. People are self-censoring. People are silencing themselves. It is bad for the country. The left is happy about it because they feel as though they are in control, and they are in control. There was a Pew poll that was taken last year. You know what it showed? It showed that a plurality of every group politically in the United States, outside of woke progressives, believes they have to self-censor. Every single one. Liberals, moderate liberals, say that they have to self-censor what they believe at work because they're afraid of the repercussions. The only people who never have to self-censor are the most radical leftists. Those people can say whatever the hell they want. They can say whatever they want. Okay, and that is going to destroy the country. It truly is. Okay, so here is how this manifests for the media. So what the media love to do in order to make this happen, everybody understands this is a really ugly thing that is happening right now. Even people who are sort of mainstream liberals understand that this is an ugly thing. That's why you had the Harper's Weekly letter last year, about 150 academics on the left, all of whom voted for Biden, I'm sure, not a single Trump voter among them, wrote a letter decrying cancel culture. And the left went after them. Right? All of those people are being lumped in now with people on the right, and all of those people are being lumped in with the worst offenders of people who violate sort of norms of decency. Because the goal here is to shut the Overton window so small that no one fits in it except for the wokest of everybody on a social level. So if you have the right political values, by the way, then you have a free pass to do whatever you want. And if you don't have the right political values, then you have a free pass to do nothing. And we will dig up everything you wrote back in 2002, and we will use it to ruin you. So let's take a couple of examples. So right now in politics, there are two stories. One is going to receive significant media attention. One is not going to receive significant media attention, at least not in the long haul. Okay, the one that's not going to receive significant attention in the long haul, it's a story right now. So it's gotten a little bit of mainstream media attention, to be fair. It's not going to receive any over the course of the next 2 weeks. The co-founder of the Lincoln Project, right? The Lincoln Project is a bunch of supposedly ex-Republicans who went Democrat, wasted tens of millions of bucks targeting particular Republicans across the country, and then claimed victory after the last election cycle. And it's sort of the most, not only never Trump and anti-Trump, but anti-Republican. They were going after people like Susan Collins in Maine. Right? So it turns out that the Lincoln Project, which is basically a bunch of grifters who suggested that they were going to say nasty things about Republicans and raise lots of money to do it. It turns out that the co-founder, John Weaver, has now been condemned by the Lincoln Project in the wake of allegations that the longtime GOP strategist made unsolicited sexual overtures to several young men, including one who was 14 years old at the time he received sexual messages from Weaver. The group finally, there are reports about this for months, by the way. Finally, the group put out a statement on Sunday when it became clear they couldn't keep running away from the story, saying John Weaver led a secret life that was built on a foundation of deception at every level. He's a predator, a liar, and an abuser. We extend our deepest sympathies to those who are targeted by his deplorable and predatory behavior. The Lincoln Project rose to prominence last year as they campaigned against Trump and others who supported him. Weaver, 61, helped co-found the group. He had previously worked on the presidential campaigns for John McCain and John Kasich. The New York Times published a report Sunday morning based on interviews with 21 men who alleged Weaver sent them unwanted provocative messages or solicited them for sex, often in exchange for the promise of professional help. The New York Times story followed reports about Weaver's behavior from earlier this month, including one by the American conservatives Ryan Girdusky on January 11th and by Axios on January 15th. His original response, Weaver's, was that he was a gay man, which is the get-out-of-jail-free card of sexual abuse, at least for a couple of weeks, right? Is that if you're a straight guy, supposedly, who engages in predatory behavior, claiming you're gay is somehow supposed to give you cover. Most gay men are not predators. When I say most, I mean nearly all gay men are not predators. So that's a pretty pathetic defense there by Weaver. And so on Sunday, the Lincoln Project noted Weaver was never around the other members. He said, "We are grateful beyond words that at no time was John Weaver in the physical presence of any other member of the Lincoln Project." Okay, fine. So this will be out of the news, I promise, within 3 days. And the Lincoln Project will continue as though nothing ever happened because they have issued the denunciation of their co-founder and they'll move on. Okay, maybe that's right. Maybe that's right. Maybe they never knew. Seriously, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they never knew any of this stuff was true. Maybe they never knew that any of the rumors were true. Fine. Okay, do you think that the right is going to be, if they were a right-wing group, you really think that would be let go within the next few days? Watch the news. You will see. The mentions of Lincoln Project in the news will go like this, right? They're just going to crater. Meanwhile, every Republican in America will be asked about the crazy person, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Every single Republican for the next couple of years will be asked every time Marjorie Taylor Greene says a crazy thing to denounce Marjorie Taylor Greene. Because that's the way this game works, is that if there is somebody on the right who's crazy and you need somebody crazy you can focus in on so that you can slander the entire Republican Party and every conservative with that person, you just keep focusing in on that person. Right? John Weaver will not be in the news 2 days from now. Marjorie Taylor Greene will be in the news for the next couple of years at minimum, no matter how many times people say that she's a crazy person. Because, by the way, she's a crazy person. Alrighty, so here is the thing. You've got the entire left basically saying that everybody on the right has to answer for its worst members. Meanwhile, the rule on the left is that you never have to answer for any of your worst members. It's pretty amazing, actually. I've been hearing from folks on the left, why don't you guys on the right, why don't you just get rid of your worst folks? And I say, well, when Steve King said his white supremacy defense comment, right, when he said that thing, some of us went full out for his opponent in a primary. He got primaried, he lost. That seat now belongs to Feenstra in that same district. So I'm just going to note, you guys had Nancy Pelosi on the cover of magazines with Ilhan Omar. Okay, Ilhan Omar is an open anti-Semite. So is Rashida Tlaib. They're both openly anti-Semitic, like repeatedly and openly. You couldn't even get a censure vote against those Congress people. And the head of your caucus did magazine covers with those people, and they are cheered wildly by the people in the media constantly. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene does not have a fan base outside of her immediate constituency in Georgia. Okay, I'm wondering who exactly is the giant fan base for Marjorie Taylor Greene. And yet Marjorie Taylor Greene is being treated as though she is sort of the heroine of the Republican Party these days. I don't know I do know where this is coming from. It's coming from a motivated media line of thought that says Republicans are their worst members and Democrats don't have bad members. They don't exist. So, for example, you are seeing this. Barbara Lee is Democrat, of course. And Barbara Lee, she says on CNN, of course, that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a danger. She shouldn't serve in any legislative body. And it's just indicative of how bad the Republicans are that she's being allowed to serve. Now, a couple of things. One, she's an elected congressperson. I don't believe that you can eject an elected congressperson based on comments made before they were a congressperson. Once they're a congressperson, you can eject them based on comments that they make. But if you dig up something they said a year ago, presumably the people spoke based on that information. But here's Barbara Lee making this particular case.
She is a danger. She's a threat. She refuses to wear masks. She now, of course, we see, which is to be expected, the support of Donald Trump, who incited violence, who promoted the attempted coup on January 6th, and 5 people died. And so she, based on who she is, her behavior, what she has said, she's a danger and should not serve in any legislative body.
So I agree she never should have been elected to Congress. I totally agree. By the way, the comments that she's referring to is that Marjorie Taylor Greene believes a bunch of crazy crap because she's kind of crazy. Now, here's the stuff that she has said, according to the Sacramento Bee. She suggested in a Facebook post that the wildfires in California, she says, there are all these people who have said they saw what looked like lasers or blue beams of light causing the fires, and pictures and videos. And apparently, these lasers are controlled by the Jews, which is interesting. The Post claims involvement from investor Richard Blum, husband of Senator Dianne Feinstein, and the banking firm Rothschild Inc. So apparently, she says, if they are beaming the sun's energy back to Earth, I'm sure they would never miss a transmitter receiving station, right? I mean, mistakes are never made when anything new is invented. What would that look like anyway? A laser beam or light beam coming down to Earth, I guess. Could that cause a fire? I don't know. I hope not. That sure wouldn't look so good for PG&E, Rothschild Inc., Solarin, or Jerry Brown, who doesn't seem fond of PG&E. She's also trafficked in QAnon, which is crazy towns. And she shared social media posts asserting in 2018 that the Parkland shooting was a false flag operation. Okay, so she's a nut. She's a nutty person who was elected to Congress because it was a small primary. She's the only person who received any sort of funding or media attention. And next time around, she should not be elected, right? And if she says this sort of stuff while she's in Congress, then Congress has every ability to eject her from Congress, certainly to censure her. Okay, with all of that said, the attempt to paint Marjorie Taylor Greene as the face of the Republican Party is pretty obvious by the media. That is why there is all this oppo focus on Marjorie Taylor Greene right now. See, they can't do it for Trump anymore, right? Trump's gone. So now they have to find a new face of the Republican Party. So are they going to pick one of the other faces of the Republican Party? They're going to pick like Dan Crenshaw? No, of course not. Instead, they're going to pick Marjorie Taylor Greene and attempt to claim the entire Republican Party is, in fact, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and suggest over and over that Republicans are more worried about the normies within the party than they are about the Marjorie Taylor Greenes within the party. So that's what Chris Wallace was doing over the weekend on Fox News. The Fox News, by the way, that Brian Stelter would like to ban. Here's Chris Wallace saying that there is more focus on Lynn Cheney in the Republican Party than there is on Marjorie Taylor Greene, which I'm not sure how that is the case, considering that every single Republican member I have heard of has condemned Marjorie Taylor Greene's comments. In that case, here's Chris Wallace.
You know, you've got a situation right now where there is more visible outrage inside the GOP over Liz Cheney, a member of leadership, voting to impeach the president, over rather than some of these wild conspiracy theories being espoused by Marjorie Taylor Greene. How serious is this for the GOP, and what can they do about it? I mean, they take her off committees, expel her. What are their options here?
So a couple of things. Liz Cheney, with regard to impeachment, is obviously doing something that's kind of more important within the Republican Party than this fringe nut from Georgia who believes in Jewish space lasers. By the way, I can't tell you more about the Jewish space laser. First rule of Jewish space laser is you never talk about Jewish space laser. Second rule of Jewish space laser is we never roll on Shabbos. Those are the two rules of Jewish space laser. But aside from that, the reason that Republicans are maybe focused on the controversy surrounding Liz Cheney is because impeachment is kind of a big thing, and Liz Cheney is the number 3 Republican in the House, whereas this lady is a first-term backbencher from Georgia who probably won't win re-election in her district. So maybe that is more of an issue in the immediate term for the Republican Party. But the goal here, of course, is that every Republican is going to be smeared with Marjorie Taylor Greene in the same way that every Republican a few years back was smeared with Todd Akin. That is the way this works. Okay, you're going to hear MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, repeated over and over and over again. And by the way, because the left does this is what they do. Because the left is going to spend an inordinate amount of time, the mainstream media, on this person, that is going to drive people into the arms of this person. Because then people will be like, why is this person being unfairly attacked? Why are they constantly talking about her? Okay, she's going to end up with a larger following, which of course is exactly what a lot of people want. A lot of people, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, I would assume, love that media attention. Because the media focusing on that means a lot of people in reactionary fashion will then go and defend Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, two things can be true at once. One, she shouldn't be in Congress. She believes a lot of crazy crap. And two, she is not a mainstream Republican voice. She is not the leader of any movement. She is not an important person in the Republican caucus. And she should be primaried next time around by a well-funded opponent. Okay, but that's not what the media's design here is to do. The media's design is to create this supposed imbalance between craziness on the right and craziness on the left. Reality check. There's craziness on both sides. The crazy people on both sides need to be condemned. I see actually more condemnation from it very often on the right than I do from people on the left. Again, the left just wants to pretend away the idea that there is any sort of similarity between the craziness. Okay, the craziness extends across the aisle. I saw an entire Democratic Party look the other way or cheer while cities burned during the summer. And then, when the Capitol riots happened, they're like, why are you guys on the right not condemning the violence more strenuously? Some of us condemned the violence both times, guys. Some of us thought it was evil both times. Some of you are just full of crap. And when you do the same thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, while you wrap your large-scale Democratic embrace around Ilhan Omar and pretend that she's a leading figure in your movement, I'm going to say that you guys don't have a leg to stand on when you talk about anti-Semitism in your own party, especially given the fact that your entire critical race theory nonsense is rooted in anti-Semitic perceptions about how Jews are not actually a victimized people. Jews are actually just successful white people. Now Asians are turning into white people thanks to critical race theory. So, yeah, I don't buy any of your phony insanity about this rando, weirdo, crazy person. Yeah, I think that it's a little bit convenient that you have decided to elevate Marjorie Taylor Greene to the leadership of the Republican Party based on zero evidence that she's a member of the leadership of the Republican Party. That is the goal here. Fringe everybody by pointing at this one person. And then that allows you to basically silence anybody. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date on all of our future content.